Hi there, and welcome to another episode of How Cute He's Still Trying. Today's story involves what looks to be a problematic DM having a not-so-subtle prejudice against a player's class. The story is titled, The Dwarf Who Was Too Short to Look Up. I literally can't read this without thinking of that stupid movie. What's it called? Oh well, it probably wasn't that important. Let's dive in. This happened many years ago, way back in the late 1900s, when I was a wee babby mustard green. Ooh, is OP Irish? Oh, you know I gotta. I had played Vampire the Masquerade and, Women's Tennis Association? I don't know. WTAF a few times with a local friend group. And one day, a couple of the people from that group invited me along for a D&D one-shot with another group they knew. I hadn't met anyone else from this group, and I had never played D&D before. The game was an older edition, not sure which, and spoiler alert, this actually ended up turning me off D&D for so long that I didn't even try to play it again until 5e. So, fair warning, I don't remember or never knew some of the details of the game mechanics involved here. I could be totally in the wrong for all I know. Maybe I'm the RPG horror story. Whoa, slow down mate, you're getting meta way too fast and my wine ain't even kicked in yet. Anyway, the setting was run-of-the-mill sword and sorcery, Tolkien with the serial numbers filed off. That standard issue fantasy world we all know inside and out. Now, being an idealistic and contrarian young thing and not really understanding some of the things about D&D character optimization, I thought it would be fun to subvert some tropes in this world by role-playing a character that had surprising or atypical class and skill loadout for their species. And I was upfront about this with the DM and the other players, so I ended up trying to build a Dwarven ranger whose main offensive technique was archery. The others in the group said I could do it, but warned me that it wouldn't be optimized, and maybe I am the arsehole for not taking the hint, but I figured, hey, it's a one-shot, so it's not going to be that serious. I'll take the right stats to be as good an archer as a starting level dwarf can be, and the roleplay flavor will be fun. Today's flavor is black licorice and candy corn with a pinch of arsenic. I was the only one who was new to D&D, so the DM and other players helped me allocate my stats to figure out what skills I would need. And we got started. The other players were a caster of some sort, a cleric, and a couple of melee fighting classes I don't remember for sure. I was the only dwarf, as well as the only PC with ranged physical weapons, at least starting out. Typical adventure began, we all popped into existence in a local tavern, whatever the story hook was walked up to us, and away we were. I don't remember exactly what we were supposed to be doing, saving a noble's daughter, or finding a magical artifact, or trekking across the kitchen for a glass of water for all we know. But the first leg of our MacGuffin hunt took us up a rocky path through mountains and canyons, where we were immediately attacked by pterodactyls. We rolled initiative, a couple of other players got attacks off, and it was my turn. Obviously, I try to shoot one of the pterodactyls with my bow. The DM smirks and says, "Did you take insert obscure skill here?" I was like, "No, what is that?" DM explained to me that because dwarves are so short, they're not able to use ranged weapons against targets that are positioned physically above them unless they take this special skill that allows them to essentially look upward. Yeah, it's called a neck. I said I hadn't seen or been told about that rule and asked to see it. I was then accused of arguing back against the DM. Here's the problem. If I don't know what the role or skill is, I can't properly look up to confirm or point out who's right in this situation, but the game master refusing to verify the rules to OP isn't making this DM look good. I asked why no one mentioned this while they were helping me build the character, since they all knew I had no experience with the game and was making a dwarven archer. And the session devolved into a lecture on how I should have known about the inherent inflexibility of dwarven cervical bones. Are they really digging into the realism of an implied anatomy of a fantasy race in a fantasy game? That's about as pedantic as that annoying bookworm kid from the Polar Express. And then turn around and project the burden of understanding on the other person that they were supposed to know everything the whole time? What kind of quote-unquote friend group is this? Well, it looks like I'm about to have that question answered, cause the fun don't stop there, listeners. I asked if I could at least try to shoot at the pterodactyls even if it wasn't likely to hit. The DM's response? You can try, but I'll tell you now it won't be possible to roll that high, so the only thing that might happen is you'd hit one of your allies. Okay, I said. I watched to see what happens. The rest of the party fought the pterodactyls and we moved on. I tried to engage with the world and story a couple more times, but I was repeatedly shot down or ignored, and I ended up spending the entire rest of the game using every turn I had to watch the other players do things that it was arbitrarily ruled I couldn't do solely because of my character's race. Highlights include, your arms aren't long enough, and you're too heavy to make the jump, so you'll have to find another way around. I couldn't leave because the friends I came with were also my ride, so I just sat through it for hours and hours. No one noticed or even cared that I was having a terrible time. I didn't play D&D again for at least a decade. In fact, because I was a wee babby and didn't have the social skills to spot a problem at the table, I just spent a fair amount of time telling the other TTRPG players how much I hated D&D because the rules were so restrictive and stupid and the players were so argumentative and unwelcoming. I gave it another try many years later with friends I actually trusted, and I've come to realize that that DM was almost certainly cheesing everything to punish me for my race/class choice. Good for you. Don't dread a game playing with a bunch of dorks that make you hate the game. Instead, play with a bunch of dorks that help you enjoy the game. But I was always curious if there actually is, or was in that older edition, some kind of rule about dwarves being too short to look up. I've never found it if there is. And you probably never will, and eventually you'll discover that it was all bullshit. Whoops, excuse my French. I don't want my video demonetized. Oh wait. Nah, I'm good. And on that story-ending note, I'd like to point out that since there were no specifics given, it was extremely hard for me to pinpoint any kind of rule or limitations on dwarf classes mentioned in this tale. If there was any such limitations, Google sure as hell can't find it. A health to other players out there, check on your friends periodically and make sure that everyone is having fun. If someone is trying to engage but are constantly sniped down by the game master, you might want to reevaluate everything. And on that note, we'll end the video here. One of these days I might actually read one of these stories using the Portal robot voice. Let me know if that's something y'all would be interested in. But until then, check on your friends, don't leave them out of the fun, and stay hydrated. Bye, Yanara!